Hey, 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 ladies, we are
Hi.
live. Me and Angelique Renae. We are here live today on this National Self Love Day. And so you have two experts here to celebrate and just share some divine wisdom and knowledge with you today. So let me tell you the topic of our show is Supreme Self Love and Well-Being for the Modern Day Businesswoman. I think that's all of you ladies tuning in. I want to first, let me make sure, Angelique, make sure that you can see us in the community just in case some people are commenting
Okay.
because the comments do not show up as I had hoped they would. So I don't know if you're able to see them because for whatever reason they don't show up for me on my Facebook. So if you can see them, great. And that way, if any questions come through, let us know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead because we've got so much to talk about today, and I want to make sure that Angelique gets all the time to share all the with us, girls. Let me introduce her. Angelique is a holistic beauty and wellness expert and licensed esthetician. That's what brought us together, makeup
Yeah.
and beauty.
Yeah.
Then she spent the last 10 years on a journey, and her journey has led her to learning about and becoming a facilitator of dietary education, supplementation, skin health, healing modalities, as well as connecting deeper to her faith and spirituality. She has developed one-on-one coaching programs that help shift women out of stress and chaos to serenity and revitalize their feminine soul by helping them release self-sacrifice. How many of us need to release that? And achieve balance. Recently, she launched her holistic healing beauty institute for the feminine soul. Let me restate that: the Holistic Healing Institute for the Feminine Soul. There was a couple of H's in there, Angelique. A little off, which is a year-long educational program that brings in experts from different modalities to share their wisdom on various topics throughout the year. So welcome, and
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, Angelique and I go back quite a few years. We were both makeup artists with this amazing company called Motives Cosmetics, and then we became well, I guess at the same time we were linked from Tara Travis as well.
Yeah.
We're both our families originate from Las Cruces, New Mexico. That
That's
is
true.
find.
And somebody just commented we look like we could be twins. So yeah, we're from the same hometown.
Oh, hi, Joy. I see Joy commented. I'm seeing one person. Yay. Hey, Joy, welcome. Joy is an amazing woman, Angelique. Joy, you should hook up with Angelique as well because Joy interviewed me on her beautiful show.
Oh, wow.
And so you two definitely should connect because she's amazing. She's an image consultant.
Awesome.
So awesome woman. So Angelique, let's just dive in.
Yep.
Now that people know that we're linked, we're soul sisters. And so tell us why you're passionate about the subject of self-love and holistic beauty and what got you into this work.
Yeah, it was through my own journey. I actually spent 15, almost 16 years in a corporate sales career, and I suffered burnout and fatigue like so many women because nobody hands you a manual or a guidebook to tell you how to be a new mom, a new wife, a career woman on the rise, and how to balance everything. And so my strive for perfection, trying to do everything right, rendered me depleted, exhausted, and completely burnt out. And later on down the road, eventually my marriage fell apart. Had a couple of car accidents, my grandfather passed away. All of this stuff happened, and as I'm stepping into being a new single mom, and it really dawned on me that there was absolutely no way I was the only woman on the planet having an experience like this.
Right.
And so I really developed a heart for serving women. So that way they didn't have to fumble over a 10-year period like I did trying to figure this stuff out. And I really had it in my heart to create a shortcut, because when you're in a storm of stress and chaos, it's really hard to think straight and to understand how to dig yourself out. It can be completely overwhelming.
Right, right. Because I can totally relate to that. I call that period my nervous breakthrough, because I had that breakdown moment where everything just dumps on you. And I think you'll agree, it's in that moment that you, number one, it's like you define who you are, because it's a real definitive time for us. And you see like, wow, I'm really strong in this moment. God really shows us who we are. Mm-hmm. And it's out of that, I feel like our calling, out of our mess arises our message. Would you agree? What's your thought?
I would agree with that. And for me also, as everything kind of fell apart and, relationships were stripped away and I was laying there recovering from my last car accident, I just remember looking up and going, okay, God, you've got my attention. Please make it abundantly clear what you need from me, because obviously you want more of me, and it was, it was in that moment I knew that was the number one thing that I could rely on, because everything else was falling apart.
Right. Yeah. Because that is the moment we're like, okay, all there is God. There is nothing else, because in my power, I can't do it. So beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. So what is the biggest struggle you see women who come to you for healing? What do you see them dealing with the most? And what kind of advice do you give them?
Yeah, what I typically see by the time most women get to me, they usually are experiencing some sort of a symptom. Stress manifests as pain and illness. So they've either got some sort of a skin issue. I'm seeing reproductive issues. I'm seeing digestive issues, a lot of different things. And also a lot of women have their hormones tipped out of balance. And so that is something that is completely overlooked. And what I often see is that women will end up, whether it's taking antibiotics, taking, using topicals, going in, having a little injection here and there, they're kind of masking the symptoms, because if they are experiencing digestive issues, then taking an antibiotic, if they're having a food intolerance, that's not going to address it. If they're having a hormonal imbalance, that's not going to address it. And I'm finding it more and more common that they will often even prescribe birth control and never even do a hormone panel to see where the excess or deficiency lies. And so I'm just seeing women are increasingly frustrated because conventional medicine or products and traditional beauty treatments are not really solving and getting to the root of the problem, and much deeper layers of healing are needed. There's other triggers, there's spiritual and emotional factors, there's stress triggers, lifestyle choices, a lot of other things outside of just those superficial treatments and things that they're looking for. So it's a matter, that's why I felt the need to get outside the treatment room and work with women at a deeper level on a one-on-one basis, is to help them peel away those layers, because we're multifaceted, multidimensional beings, so it's time to take and redefine beauty and aging beyond skin deep.
Right. And I think that a lot of people in this day are becoming more aware, and they're moving more towards natural healing, more towards spirituality as a place of healing, because a lot of people don't get, I think we wear this badge of busy, and we think that, oh, it's so good to be busy, but actually being too busy is impacting your health. It's impacting your vitality. It's impacting your mind.
Yes.
And so I just watched this movie. I don't know if have you seen the movie Heal? It's a documentary on.
I've heard of it. I have it saved on my playlist. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, you need to watch it, girl, because this is in your line of work. It was so amazing. The mind-body connection. Yeah. And so It's so good because what you're doing, so many women need. It's like we need to reconnect to who we truly are and use what God gave us, these natural elements to heal.
Yes. Yeah, definitely the feminine soul. And that's what I'm finding is most women are becoming disconnected from that. They're disconnected from their feminine center. They're disconnected from source. And where our conventional medical system here in the United States is limited is that they're in a state of diagnose and prescribe. But if you look at a lot of ancient and tribal wisdom, they look at all the other environmental, spiritual, lifestyle factors that are impacting. So even if two people have the same illness, they may treat it differently on a case-by-case basis.
Exactly. Good stuff. So can you help us understand exactly what holistic healing is and how we as women can incorporate holistic healing into ourselves at home? You know, what are some things we can do at home to create holistic healing?
Absolutely. So what I see quite often are certain things like hair loss, skin issues, sleeplessness, reproductive issues, issues with conception, low energy, low libido. And so typically they may go to their hairdresser, they may go to the doctor, they may go to their OBGYN, they may go to the dermatologist. They're bouncing all around, you know, and so for example, what they're not looking at typically, because they're usually going to end up with a product or a medication or something like that, the holistic side of things are going to look at how are you managing your stress, and are you eating hormone impacting foods? Do you possibly have nutritional deficiencies, either based on your stress levels, or are you taking a medication that's flushing your nutrients or blocking the absorption of nutrients? What are the spiritual and emotional connections? And I actually just did a class on this today, talking about some of the different illnesses that I see common within women, but the emotional connotation, the correlation between the two, to say, okay, yeah, you're having migraines, but how does that connect spiritually and emotionally? And if so, that's an invitation to look at that as an area that needs healing, whether it's healing in a relationship or whether it's you needing to set healthy boundaries. Maybe there's something you need to let go of, or even manage better and be more proactive in your life and take your power, stand in your power, and manage and become the steward and the keeper of your time and your energy. Because, and this goes for toxic relationships too. And it doesn't matter if it's your mother, your sister, your brother, your boyfriend, your husband, whatever.
Right.
That is an energetic drain. And so when yeah. So, you know, you've got to be conscious and aware, and you've got to know how to manage that. So that way you're not in a constant state of reactivity, because when you're in a state of reactivity and you end up, you know, you butt heads with somebody, whatever, there's this energetic discharge that takes place. And once that spark of light is gone, you are left with darkness, because you've just depleted. I look at everything as energetic credit. It's like an ATM machine. You can only take out so much before the account gets overdrawn. But my number one thing, that as far as practicing self-love and self-care, above all else, number one thing, you've got to have that divine date daily before you start your day between you and God. That sets the tone for everything.
So you said the divine date with God is number one.
Yes. You and God, you've got to connect. You've got to ask for guidance. You've got to ask for wisdom. And I personally, I'm not a person. So I studied many different healing modalities, and I used to get frustrated because, you know, I had a teacher that was like, you need to get up at like 5 a.m. and meditate. And I'm like, I really just like and hit the snooze button. But what I found, and for the busy woman, this is what works for me, is I do have multiple alarms set, but once I hit the snooze button on that first alarm, I have 15 minutes to lay there and I go through all my gratitude exercises, just being thankful and grateful for breath, thankful and grateful that I'm alive, thankful and grateful for everything that I have, surrendering it and placing it at his feet, knowing he's got a divine plan in mind for me, asking for him to illuminate the path that I'm meant to be on, and whatever's not meant to me for me to shut the door and make it abundantly clear. I have this thing that I go through every morning, and that sets the tone. And if I don't do that, then I go out in the world kind of willy-nilly and a little bit squirrely, and I notice my day doesn't go the same. you know?
Right. And gratitude, because the energy, the vibration of gratitude is so high. So it's like you're saying, it sends us out into the world in this high vibrational state, which does what? Attracts high vibe things into our life in that day. That's why I learned, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, 2 days in a row, I looked at my phone first thing when I woke up, and it had stuff on there that pissed me off, and it just messed up my whole day. And I didn't realize it till I kind of calmed down through the day. And I go, you know what? Your whole day was set by picking up something that could potentially deliver you negative news. So I think it's so important what you're saying there is to start, even if it's just laying in your bed, starting out, just saying your gratitude.
Thankful and grateful.
That your eyes opened up this morning, because there are people whose eyes didn't open today.
Yeah, and I'm thankful and grateful to have a healthy child. I mean, there's so many things that, just sitting there and counting your blessings. And one thing that I did learn from our former coach, Tara Travis, is that even if you do pick up your phone and you see bad news and, and you have that moment where you could get disjointed, you know what, put it aside and remember your soul comes first.
Yep. And then who was it? Somebody today, I was talking to my girlfriend, True Beauty, and she was telling me about a mutual friend of ours, how she says to herself, because in that moment when we have those feelings, we have a choice. And what women don't, seem to remember is I always hear them say, so-and-so made me. And no one can make us anything. We choose to be angry or sad or mad in that moment. We have a choice that, you know what? Nothing's going to spoil my, my vibe this morning. And that was something I forgot. And I was like, hold up. No. So I'm not picking this thing up in the morning first thing. It's tough because I like to just lay there and everything's done. But hey, it has paid off.
Yeah, it's about choosing mindfulness rather than mindlessness. And you bring up a really valid point, because I went through this in my class today, very much about choice and about taking personal responsibility for your life experience. Right. And it's in that because so often the things that trigger us, usually you've got to explore, there's some sort of a belief that's attached to it. There's some sort of something in regards to ego, or for, say, a highly sensitive person like myself, I'm an empath. So I can't watch the news. I can't, so stuff like that just gets me unnerved. That's why I cut my cable 11 years ago and turn off the television. So I choose my life experience and what I want to experience. And so it's good to have that awareness, but it's also good to know that you have that choice, and ask yourself, what do I want instead? What do I choose instead?
Right. So good. Yeah. So good. One thing I learned from my mentor, Michael Bernard Beckwith, because he talked about, a lot of times spiritual people, because I was like that. I'm like, I don't want to watch the news. I don't want to watch anything negative. But one good thing that he gave me to reframe that for me was, he says, when you look at the news and the newspaper, and then the news, the stuff that comes in your feed, he says, that's the world's call for prayer. He says, when we see things in the news, in the newspaper, negativity scrolling through our feed, he says, look at that and write it down. And that's what we need to be praying for as spiritual people. And I said, wow, that's a heck of a lot better way to look at it. And at the same time, you stay informed. But I just thought, what a better way to think of the news as the world's call for prayer.
That is a great saying. And for me, I'm a reader. And so I do read the news. Stuff pops up on my feed. So I'm not completely oblivious to what's going on in the world. I just choose, I limit how much time I spend on it. And I would rather read it than listen to it. But, same sort of thing. If you have things or people that upset you in life, being able to set them free with love and send them unconditional love, because when you get into that space and place of that lower level vibration of they did this to me, they made me, then it's an invitation for you to stop, take a breath, identify your physical reaction, and then, just choose to send it unconditional love. I say I send the right spin energy to get all that negative stuff away, and then send glitter and sparkly white light. and it's for me because, rather than developing, health issues over it and getting a sick stomach and I can't eat and getting myself upset, it feels better to me to be able to send it unconditional love, and it creates a shift that's healthier for me to be able to navigate through. It just feels a lot better.
Right. Good stuff. Yeah, because we have to let people go. Or otherwise, like you said, you're going to get sick.
Love.
Yeah, it's going to show up in your body. So do you have any important self-love tips? Of course, they're important. Everything you do is important. To offer women who find themselves in a very busy, stressful lifetime, and they feel like, I just can't seem to fit in self-care. What kind of tips would you offer for these women? Because especially moms deal with this. I get a lot of moms who are clients, and they're like, oh, I just don't have time for that. And they just kind of let themselves go. What would you recommend?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because I know how it is, how to be a busy mom. And for me, I'm all about integration. The last thing I want to do is add another task to my to-do list because I'm already overwhelmed. So integration for me is like many things. Like I mentioned before, laying in bed for just a few minutes in the morning, doing my prayers and my exercise and my gratitude and stuff before, and then stretching. I like to stretch and make sure I wiggle my fingers, wiggle my toes, like get all the kinks out. And then, so my body starts flowing, the energy starts flowing. That way you're not stiff or stuck. Yeah. And then, so because there are people that don't have time for a full yoga practice. Right. But if you take a little time to stretch before you hit the floor, and then, if you're having to sit at your desk or you're having to sit in your car, making sure to take a moment to stretch here and there. It doesn't have to be a full-blown yoga practice. Even for that matter, it maybe going to the gym is overwhelming, but at least if you can get out and walk around the block, walking is, you're outside, you're getting fresh air, you're in nature. It's really about incorporating everything. And then, there's certain things you can do also, like if you have to commute and you're in the car, rather than listening to the chatter of the radio. And this is why I turned off, the TV and the radio, is because it's like chewing gum for the brain. There's like no nutritional value. There's all this chatter going on. So I decided to start listening to either music that's soothing or inspirational or upbeat, like jazz music, or I'm going to listen to audios of stuff that is inspiring or motivating, or, so that way I'm feeding myself positivity, and framing my mindset. And then breathing, always stopping to breathe, paying attention to your breath, because if you're short and you're tight in the chest, then that's an invitation to stop for a second, breathe. Right. That's always a nice time to say a little prayer, right? And then the other thing too, and I shared this on my last in my last class, is I have a mood management kit that I carry with me in my purse, so that way I can do, my little essential oil treatments and kind of, to shift my mood because I'm feeling anxious or stressed or whatever. And it's about being empowered. You have a choice. You take in that moment's for yourself. Doesn't matter if you're in your car, in the bathroom, at your desk, or whatever. just pause for a moment. These little pauses throughout the day add up. There's these little micro shifts that add up to macro results, right? So it doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, I need an hour for this and an hour for that, you know, and add more to your day. It's just those itty bitty little things that you can do, even if it's something as simple as having your favorite teacup that you like to drink tea out of. If you're going to drink tea or coffee anyways, you may as well use your china and have a beautiful cup to drink out of and saucer, you know, and that's surrounding yourself with beauty and you can enjoy it, you know. It's just the little things. It doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Yeah, because women oftentimes think, you know, I have to set like an hour, 30 minutes, and it can just be things that easily, like you said, integrate into their days. Like me, I got my pretty cup here I'm drinking out of.
You got your pretty flowers. Yes. Every girl should have pretty flowers on their desk or in their environment.
And then I will drink water and put some fruit in it in a wine glass.
Yep, me too.
Luxurious. Yeah. So it's a little simple thing.
Makes me happy.
Sisters, okay? Learn to love yourself first.
Yeah.
So, yeah, RuPaul says, I've been watching RuPaul's Drag Race lately, and RuPaul says something like, if you don't love yourself, how will anybody else? Or you do something like that at the end.
You teach others how to love you by loving yourself first. It's about setting the standard, because people are going to be watching and observing you and say, wow, if she takes that good of care of herself, like I need to make sure that like I honor that.
Exactly. Very good. Very good input. So what will women gain from being a part of the Holistic Healing Institute of the Feminine Soul? Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so for me, I felt the call. I had several people kind of knocking on my door asking if I would, and they were other like makeup artists and beauty professionals asking if I did apprenticeships or mentoring or teaching, because there are some people that I have my clients that are one-on-one coaching clients that need that undivided attention for the quickest results possible. But then there's some people that enjoy knowledge. There's some people that really want to plug in, gain a better understanding, and look at other options outside of maybe what they've already been doing. So I felt that it was important, because I was doing so much education in the treatment room. I felt it was really important to be able to open it up to serve more people. And whether that's just women that are looking to explore, I've just consolidated so much information that I've gained over the last 11 years to make it easy, but yet we're going to really go on a journey, because each session is going to be a little bit deeper, and I'm addressing all the layers of all the facets of women, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And in that as well, I'm also inviting in some other practitioners. I have a nutritional therapist, Jenna Ross. She's also an essential oil expert. She uses them in a different way that I do, being a spa therapist. But I've got an Ayurvedic practitioner that I'm interviewing tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that, because there's a lot of ancient wisdom when it's the sister science to yoga, but it very much looks at body types, the types of foods that you're eating in order to optimize your overall health, as well as beauty. And then I'm looking to bring in a doctor of Oriental medicine. And I also interviewed a longtime friend and former colleague of mine, Amber Simon. She is a fitness expert, and she had been through multiple car accidents, suffered she went through surgery, vertigo, and she hit a plateau in her physical therapy, and she got in the gym with her back brace and all rehabilitated. She's now competing in fitness, but she did it all naturally. She didn't buy into all the supplements and all the stuff that a lot of bodybuilders get into. She had to approach it differently from an anti-inflammatory perspective. And so I wanted to bring in people from different modalities so we can look at all these pieces of women from a different angle, because we're in the age of information overwhelm and overload. And a lot of people are coming in confused. There's so much information. They don't know what works, what doesn't, what's right for them. And so I really want to give them an understanding at a high level so they can choose for themselves, or they can support the people that they serve once they have an understanding and can speak intelligently about the different options that are available, and even feel comfortable creating a referral network, because if something's outside the scope of my practice, I can at least make the recommendation, hey, you might want to look at this. Here's the reason why, but also let them know, and here's the person that I recommend that you see for that, to do a deeper dive on that. And then it builds a deeper level of trust between me and my clients, because once they get results from one of my recommendations, even though it's not me performing the service or giving that guidance, it really solidifies deep, meaningful connections, and it allows deeper levels of healing. And it just has a ripple effect in everything that we do. It has a ripple effect in our work and our relationships, and then ultimately our bottom line, because we get to a place where we're balanced and we can give from a state of overflow instead of being depleted and exhausted.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. So the question of the day is, since it is National Self-Love Day and you are one of the queens, what are you doing to show yourself some love today?
Well, after I get done with you here, I actually am going over to celebrate with two fellow sisters that just opened up their own new salon. So I'm going to go do that and spend some time with them. That's going to be really exciting. And then I'm probably going to have dinner and a glass of champagne with a dear friend of mine that brings me joy. So I'm just going to enjoy the company of other people that I really love being around and celebrate their success as well.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I bought myself some flowers today, and I dolled myself up because today is my 9th anniversary in business.
Congratulations. Happy anniversary, because I do remember you and I go pretty far back, and I remember when you made that shift. And, we've been through so many changes and so many seasons throughout the year. It's been amazing. Yeah, we've had these parallels. Even though we've lived across the country from one another, we've been calling and keeping in touch and keeping tabs on each other. But talk about, I'd love for you to talk about all the seasons of change you've been, and how you managed to achieve perseverance through it all to get to where you're at today.
Well, I will answer that, but let me have you, before we move on to your beautiful question. How can these ladies get a hold of you, Angelique? If they want to check into the Holistic Healing Institute, how can they find you on social media?
Yes, well, I am under Angelique Renae, spelled Renae. I'm just out there on Facebook, and if you want to inquire further, definitely you can get on the mailing list. I am conducting an expert series of interviews right now, and you'd have access to the recordings. And then I'm taking applications for enrollment and one coaching as well, and I'll be offering certification to those that are looking to certify in holistic wellness and beauty, and opportunity to become certified as a coach the following year. So it's gonna be pretty exciting. But Angelique Renae, or you can email me directly at sacredbeauty@outlook.com.
You got that, sacredbeauty@outlook.com, and her name is on the screen, so that way you have the proper spelling, so you can find my beautiful friend and connect with her. So now ask me your question again. I'm so sorry. I wanted to make sure how to find you.
That's okay. We've been through so many seasons of change, and you, out of all people that I've known, have embraced change the best, because we both know the only thing consistent is change.
Right.
But you've moved around the country and everything else, and I would love to hear how not only did you show self-love, honor your soul, but just keep the fuel in that fire to persevere through all the changes that you've been through.
I would say the most beautiful thing about this journey, you and I started together when I was on the East Coast in Savannah, Georgia. And I have been since then, Savannah, I've been to Seattle, LA, and now I'm in Minneapolis. And the constant, Angelique, has been God. And the greatest gift that this entrepreneurial journey has given me is this communion with the divine. It has, every step I've found peace. And sometimes it hasn't been easy because, like I was sharing, I think 2 days ago, I was almost done with my master's degree in Seattle, and I got a divine call to move to LA and go to seminary. And I'm like, really? I'm almost done with this. And, but it's that obedience. And in that, I have been blessed each and every season and grown spiritually, because I got this journey has helped me move out of victim into victor mode in my life, because I've learned that everything isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. Right. And I believe, had I not embarked on this journey of self-love and personal growth and entrepreneurship, I would still be that woman I was at 40 when I had that nervous breakthrough I was mentioning.
I love that. Nervous breakthrough.
Yeah, I was just living in victim and angry. And so it's been beautiful. And like I wrote today, all the angel souls that God has brought my way, all of the women like you that I've never laid hands or eyes on you except through this computer and voice, all of these women that God has blessed me with is how I've been able to make it through. Those like you who saw me when sometimes I didn't see myself. So it's been a real blessing to be an entrepreneur and to freely share my journey and to be allowed to touch women that God has brought in my path.
Absolutely. And then I do have one other question for you. Like, what has been your most recent milestone or initiation in self-love and in business?
My most recent, well, I would say my most recent milestone. There's been so many. Yeah, there's been
like
so
we get initiated sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like, there's so many lately. But I would say one of the most proudest moments for me right now, I'm getting a little emotional. Taking a deep breath. What is achieving my master's. And the reason is because of, it was 4 years of hard work and self-discovery. Going through Bible college was probably the most difficult of it because I was being challenged so much. And I had, all I had was what I call street credibility. As a minister, I'd never been in any ministry, and yet I got accepted to this top, like this Yale of Bible colleges, and I was expected to operate at the same level as pastors and people who'd been in the ministry for years. And then moving, finally finding that school, which is the one I graduated from, and doing that thesis. That thesis was the hardest thing I ever had to do because it challenged me mentally. It made me do numbers. I hate math. I hate numbers. I had to do statistics. And my teacher will tell you, I would cry. I would get up and I'd walk out of that stats class. That was so hard. And then doing the thesis, I graduated a year ago and I just submitted my thesis for publication like 2-3 weeks ago. It took that long because I had so much fear and block around, the formatting and all the details. Yeah. And in some way I kind of feel like maybe I hated that part of my life was actually coming to a close because I've been a student for so long.
Yeah.
And, but I'm so proud to know, Angelique, that my work is going to be published with other scholars, and that my work will be here long after I'm gone to touch other people. And that is a real huge milestone for me, because that's what, I'm so sorry to cry, but that's what my journey is truly about. It's about making a difference on this world. That's what God sent me here for. That's what God sent you here for. That's what we're all here for. And that is what I'm called to do. Each and every woman that I have the opportunity to help is a milestone for me. It's an opportunity for me to leave my legacy. And so on this 9th year, I celebrate this new awakening of Dorothy Inez to be able to finally be in her mission and purpose full time with no distractions. And the only thing I'm focusing on is making a difference for as many women as I can before I take my last breath. So that's what this walk, this journey has been all about, preparation for this now moment.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I honor you, sister. And thank you so much for inviting me on. It's been beautiful to witness your journey, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the next 10 years brings for us.
And I want to thank you, Angelique, for being a part of today. I wouldn't have had anybody else here to celebrate this day and to share the gift that is you, because I have watched you evolve as well, you know, being that makeup artist, that esthetician, and really coming into your own.
I look younger now than I did at 35. Exactly. I'm getting ready to turn 42. I'm walking proof.
Exactly. I mean, so you know what you are talking about, you know, and it has just been a privilege and an honor to walk this road with you. And so thank you so much for coming to my community, now your community, because you're a part of it, and sharing the gift that is you. And so I'm so grateful. I know the women here are so grateful that you were here, and I look forward, like you said, to another 10 years. So yes, here's to us, sister.
Thank you. Cheers, sister. And thank you for everybody joining us. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to what we have to say.
Right. So if you're watching on the replay, put #replay. If you have any questions for me and Angelique, please tag us in your question, because we'll come back and we'll be sure to answer that. We love you. God bless you. And thank you so much for being here with us today. And our live viewers, thank you so much for spending the last 45 minutes with us. We appreciate you and we value your time. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.